Man, it is good to be back. Welcome back to another episode on Across the Board. It is currently Sunday morning at 2:28 a.m. I just got back from my trip to Canada. Obviously, with the schedule this week and where I've been out of town, me and Jay not been able to get a lot of episodes out on the podcast. But Jay did get one out for college basketball, so go check that out. But shout out to him for getting that out. But man, did we have a great week of college baseball last week. A lot of fun upsets, a lot of exciting stuff from around the league, and I cannot wait to go over and talk about it. Before we begin, go follow us on our socials to keep up with any news and updates from around the sports world at Across the Board Pod on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. When this video will be out, it will be coming out Sunday, March 22nd. We are recapping last week's games, which, if my dates are correct, that would be the 14th through the 16th. I believe, which may be wrong, for last weekend's games. And then I did get a schedule out, which I posted. I believe that was Friday morning that I got that out. So go check that out for the schedule. With that being said, let's go and hop right into our recap of last week's college baseball. I want to start with a couple of upsets. We'll start with UT Arlington and UTSA. UT Arlington took the series 2-1. To be completely honest, I did not learn anything different from this series, except what I'd already known and it got exposed for UTSA has been the rotation and let on this bullpen for UTSA. To me, UTSA is basically kind of like Louisville. Their bats are outstanding. They can hit the ball well. They'll put the ball in play. But when it comes to pitching, when it comes to the rotation, the bullpen, everywhere, the group pitching has not been great this year. And so for me, it's not ideal up to the standard. And after last week's series, they were 89th in ERA in the country. That's where my concern sits at with this school. To be completely honest, they can compete with the bats with any team in the country. They have explosive bats. That's what they do well. But they're very volatile when it comes to pitching. As a lot of high scoring games will be kind of required for them to win a lot. It kind of got shown this weekend against UT Arlington. So the takeaway for me, I mean, it's really what I already knew, that they're very volatile when it comes to pitching and on the mound. And so it's just something that's going to have to be fixed for them going forward. If they want to make a run in the postseason. We'll go to Arkansas State and Southern Miss. Now, Arkansas State won this series 2-1. What a group they have. Dylan Farley, 1.88 ERA. He's a great guy on the mound for this team. Now, I will say these numbers are recorded after last week's games, so they obviously will be changed at the publishing of this video. But he had a 1.88 ERA. You got Chase Ryder with a 2.96 ERA and Jack Mason 3.64. You look at Chase Ryder against Southern Miss, he went 6 and 1/3 inning pitch. He had 7 Ks, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs. I mean, he played well. Just this group they have at Arkansas State is outstanding. You have Casey Campbell batting 316 currently, and then Evan Griffiths batting 306. I love what they have on this roster, but what makes this very interesting is the ability, not just the ability, but how competitive Sun Belt's going to be this year. Southern Miss obviously going to be competitive in the Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina going to be competitive in the Sun Belt. UL competitive in the Sun Belt. Now you got Arkansas State to the mix, and even Texas State at that. They've been a solid group. So this just kind of makes the Sun Belt a very interesting conference to look out for. Even South Alabama, and that list kind of goes on for this group. And I mean, you look at the pitching numbers for them, their current total is 307. After last week, their total was 2.87 team ERA. This is a solid group this Arkansas State team has. And I'm kind of excited to see how they play throughout their conference schedule and what they can do going forward as they get a huge win against Southern Miss. And then we go to TCU, Arizona State. Arizona State took this 2-1. Cole Carson, 5 innings pitched. He had 2 hits and 1 run, 3 walks, 11 Ks, 2.77 ERA. Cole Kleckler, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 walks, 7 Ks, 3.00 ERA. Arizona State's been a highly talked about team in the Big 12. They've had their moments this year, but again, they're a solid group. On the TCU side of things, they're just so banged up right now and very injured that it's so hard to get a grip on how good they can be. And so that's what makes it tough about this group. And you look at TCU and it's like, there's talent there. But like they've only got so much they can work with right now with the injuries that they have to their roster. Arizona State after last week, they're batting 336. I mean, this is an explosive team. You got guys like Landon Harrelson. You got Austin Rawling. I can't even read my own handwriting. But the group they have, that Arizona State has, what they're able to do, I mean, this is going to be a great team to watch in the Big 12, along with teams like Kansas State. Texas Tech's going to get on the roll. Got Arizona in that conference. Just a bunch of good groups. So kind of interested to see how that all plays out there. Now, let's go ahead and hop into ACC play. Georgia Tech Clemson. Georgia Tech took this 2-1. Their bats are just explosive. I mean, Georgia Tech is going to be an elite team this year. They've got the firepower. They've got everything they need, especially the pieces to go make a run and even to go to Omaha. You look at the rotation, I kind of starting them out. I really want to start about Tate McGee. At the end of last week, a 2.82 ERA. He went 6 innings pitched, gave me 1 hit. He did walk 5, but 7 Ks. And then you have Dylan Lay with 2.45 ERA. I mean, so they've got a solid starting group there in that rotation. But I love how I just love the offensive production that they have with this group. And to me, that's why they're going to be able to compete in every game they play in. Of course, they lost Sunday games in back-to-back weeks, which kind of brought some concern to some people, but I'm not concerned. They're going to be a good group, but I love what they kind of bring to the table. And I think they're going to be a fun group to watch as this year goes on. Then we shift over to FSU Wake Forest. You know, you look at the top going into the week, it was Wake Forest pitching staff. This is my first look at Wake Forest this year. And the pitching staff and the rotation was a huge talk for Wake Forest. But I was very impressed watching FSU's rotation. So Wes Mendez, he had a .63 ERA. You have Bryson Moore, 3.57 ERA. Trey Beer, 1.59 ERA. These guys put up some good numbers this week. Trey Beer went 6 2/3 innings pitch. He only gave up a hit, 1 walk, 14 Ks. He looked good. Wes Mendez, 7 innings pitch, 2 hits, 2 walks, 11 Ks. I love the group that they have, and I love the rotation. I love what they brought to the table. I mean, they took over Wake Forest. I mean, you watch the games, and Wake Forest was lifeless throughout this entire week. You watched it, and it was just pure lifelessness. I mean, didn't seem like they had a chance going into this week. Obviously, you look at Miles Bailey, the big talk for FSU. Miles Bailey, great hitter, good first baseman for the squad. He is a huge piece for this FSU team. But the big thing was, looking at this again, Wake Forest is a huge talking about the starting group, the rotation. And, I get my first look, but I look at FSU and go, this is a team jumping up those rankings. They have NC State this week, which we'll get in the schedule later on. If they're able to win the series, I mean, they're going to keep climbing up the rankings. But I love the group they have. I love what they've been able to do. And there's a lot of hope left for this FSU squad. And for Wake Forest, they just need to bounce back this week and get something going as they are playing Virginia. Let's go to Boston College, NC State. This was an interesting series. NC State took it 2-1. Just really for the record, I love what Boston College has. They're a solid group of guys. So I think they'll be an interesting group to watch in the Big 12, or not the Big 12, the ACC this year. But look at NC State. Talking about Ryan Marone, I was more fascinated, first off, with the pickoff move he has. Last week, he was a .87 ERA, but the pickoff move he has, it's very deceiving. It was so unique watching it. I mean, it really just throws you off. And it was just kind of something I noted that I thought was very interesting to watch when I was watching that series. But NC State's got some pop in the bats. Ryan Marone, again, great starter for this group. You've got Heath Andrews, who's another great guy for this group. Jacob Dudan, another good guy for this group. I mean, but they have got a solid group of guys here. And then you kind of go to Everett Johnston at the plate, was hitting 429, and Sherman Johnson hitting 396. Again, this was after last week's game, so if you go check now, it might be a little different. But I love what this group has. And the big talk for NC State, though, has kind of been their schedule. They're going to get their first test week with Florida State. Their schedules, as other people have talked about, and the fact that, maybe their schedule isn't as strong, and let alone the numbers are kind of padded, I would per se, and that they haven't started a good competition. But they get their first test this week in a lot of people's eyes. So I'm very excited to see how they kind of handle that playing Florida State and ACC play. North Carolina Cal, run through this fast. North Carolina swept this one 3-0. This is a great group. Again, this is going to be a solid team. Scott Forbes will have this group ready to go. Again, Jason Caro, great starter for this team. Eric Paulson, he's hitting 357. You got Ryan Lynch for this group. I mean, this is going to be a solid group. They swept Cal. Cal's going to be a good team in the ACC. I think right now we're trying to learn about a lot of teams in the ACC and trying to kind of get that identity of what kind of team they're going to be. So, but to me, I look at North Carolina and say this was a good bounce back after last weekend's Virginia. You sweep it 3-0, and that was huge to see on their end. So I think North Carolina got a huge sweep against Cal. I mentioned see how they play going forward. They take on Louisville this week. And then you have Virginia Tech. Virginia went 2-1. Um, I love their ability at the plate. I kind of love what they have there going for them. Virginia's gonna be a good team in the ACC. Just you got to look out for this team. They're going to be an interesting team to watch in the ACC. And you kind of go to Virginia Tech, and again, the things remain the same there. The bats have all were going to be a question this year. After last week, they were batting 256, and the rotation has not been great for Virginia Tech, and so they're kind of really reliant on that group. And when you kind of get to that point, and I think that's why it's tougher. I think it's a lot easier to win games when your pitching staff isn't great, but your bats are high. And kind of like Louisville and UTSA's case, you can kind of try and outscore and play that game. When it comes to Virginia Tech's case, you're very reliant on the bullpen and the rotation, and that's just tough. Very tough to do. You're asking Ethan Grimm, Griffin Strag, and Brett Renfro to be dogs and to get you through this conference play, and that's just tough to do. So I think they need to get the bats rolling and help this pitching staff. But for Virginia, they're going to be a fun group to watch going forward, and I love what they bring to the table there. All right, we'll continue on. Miami Duke. Duke took this one 2-1. Aiden Weaver, outstanding. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, 8 Ks. He got 3.58 ERA. And again, it's kind of a little look at Duke. And more if you look at Miami's into things, you know, it seems like to a lot of people they kind of were overhyped. It's like, all right, like they're playing good. I like where I'm at. And then they kind of fallen off. They get swept by Florida, and then they lose to Duke. Again, I love what they have rotation wise in the start. You got Rob Evans and AJ Shiskar, who are going to be two great guys to their group. But I do love what Duke also brings to the table. And you look at RJ Hamilton, he was hitting 349, Tyler Albright hitting 309. This is a solid group that Duke has, and they're going to be a fun team to watch in ACC play. And then this whole ACC is going to be very fun to see kind of how that all pans out with the groups and the teams. But I'm very interested to see kind of. It seems like Miami now is kind of starting to hit. We're starting to get kind of the identity of who this Miami team is. So we'll pay attention there going forward. Notre Dame, Louisville. Again, you kind of go to this group here. You look at Louisville. The bats got hot and they steamrolled at the plate. They beat Notre Dame series wise 2-1. Again, their team ERA after last year was 6.72. They're one of the bottom teams in the country with that number. But as simple as this, you know, they're going to be very reliant at the plate. Very reliant at the plate what they can do. You got Griffin Crane, Bernhot, and then Tag Davis. At this point last week, there were three guys batting above 400, and you're gonna need that if you want to be successful in the postseason. That's a huge ask for that group. But again, the 6.72 team ERA does not do you any justice, let alone any good. So I think it was very positive to see those bats get rolling. And for Notre Dame's side, though, I think they still have got a solid group there. You have Jack Riddell, 2.77 ERA. You've got Ty Uber, 3.74 ERA. Mark Vachwani, a great piece for this Notre Dame squad. He was batting 441 at this point. But I love the group that these two teams have, but I'm looking at Louisville in the sense, again, kind of how I talked about UTSA at the beginning of today's episode. And as simple as I can put it, this group, if Louisville wants to be successful this year, they're going to have to be reliant on the bats. That's going to be a huge piece for them if they want to be successful going to the postseason. Now, with that being said, we'll go ahead to the SEC, where a lot of good ball was played. Georgia knocks off Tennessee 2-1 in the series. But I want to go to game three. Stone Lawless. Okay, so in context, you got runner on base. Stone Lawless at the plate. They're down 1 run. Top of the ninth. Stone Lawless cranks this ball. Everyone's confident it's gone. Bat slam everything, and it's robbed. And a series win for Georgia. What an incredible way that was for that series to end. Just amazement there from that group. But I love what Georgia has in their batting lineup. You got Daniel Jackson, Trey Phelps, Henry Allen, three guys who are monsters hitting in this lineup. And you love to see that from this group. And for me, the one thing I've kind of talked about in Georgia, I feel like over the past couple of years, been the thing that the bats have never been an issue as much as it's just been what the rotation has, what the bullpen has. Can that be up to check and up to par? You got Joey Valco, he's at 3.81 ERA, and Dylan Vig, 2.31 ERA. So you look at the rotation, I thought it was solid. I guess Tennessee wouldn't say anything spectacular, but it was solid. I love the bats this Georgia group has. And so they're going to be a good team. Again, they're going to be a great team in the SEC. I love what they bring to the table and a huge, huge series win for them. As for Tennessee, I've talked about Tennessee being one of those teams, but I feel like I can put LSU, Florida, and Tennessee in the same category. They both, all three of them have got to get runs across the plate. For me, those are the three teams that have got to find ways to get runs across the plate to be successful this year. That's what they're going to have to do. And so I thought Tennessee's bats got rolling against Georgia, but Georgia's got an explosive lineup. So you're going to have to put up a lot of runs if you want to compete with that squad. So, but a great win for Georgia, that being said. Mississippi State, Arkansas, this was a very interesting series. I thought Mississippi State was going to walk away with this one, but Arkansas took the dub, 2-1 series win. Gabe Gackle, 2.73 ERA. He's a great pitcher for this squad. Yeah, Hunter Dietz, Colin Fisher, three guys in this rotation that are solid. The team batting average at 285. When you look at these rosters, it's you kind of would assume, not necessarily, and not that they're much. I mean, they're obviously different rosters, of course, but you kind of look at it and you would kind of get the feel that Mississippi State's a better team. However, Arkansas being at home in Fayetteville, it's kind of hard. It's going to be hard to beat them at home. And I really love kind of what I love. First of all, I love the rotation for Arkansas, but I love the all around roster composition for Mississippi State. Ryan McPherson on the round, Thomas Valinas, and then Duke Stone, three guys in starting rotation that are very solid. Bryce Chance, Ace Reese, Reed Stallman, three guys who are very solid in the Mississippi State lineup. I love the overall composition, but you look at Arkansas, the rotation is a huge piece of their success, and with those three guys and what they've got. But what a huge series win for them, and what a outstanding weekend that they had. Again, no concern for Mississippi State at all, but I think it was a great, great series to watch. That was one of the most entertaining ones to see this week. And then you got Alabama, Kentucky. Kentucky swept 3-0. You look at Kentucky, they got a guy, Ben Cleaver. He has not had his best stuff. And even we'll talk about him next week after his performance last night or a couple nights ago. I mean, he has not had his best stuff, yet Kentucky has been solid at what they've been able to do. You got Jace Thornch hitting 373, Hudson Brown hitting 352. And you've got guys in this line that can hit. I flip over to Alabama and I still scratch my head about this team. Like I don't understand what I'm looking for, or what I'm supposed to feel about this Alabama team. I don't know. This has been the one team in the SEC that I feel like it's been hard to put a pinpoint on, and like, or what are they? You're just kind of lost. And so I don't know what to think of them. I'll tell you what they can do. They can run the base as well. They get on base, they move, they advance bases. That's what they do very well. But I don't know identity wise what this team is and how they're going to be in the SEC. Like right now, it's just such a toss up. I don't know what to think of that group. So that's something we'll kind of keep up with there. And then we go to Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Oklahoma 2-1 takes this series. LJ Mercurius, 1.59 ERA. I love what he's got. Great group there. Deaton LaChance, Jackson Willett, Trey Gambly, both guys, all three of those guys getting above 350. Love what they have on their roster. These guys can hit the bat, they can explode. And so they're a very solid group. Love what they have. Like I said, I love what they have to offer at the play. I love what they have in the rotation with LJ Mercurius. This kid's got some great stuff. Got to watch him. Love what he brings to the table for the squad. Love how he pitches. And it's very interesting, going through all these to kind of, you're breaking down the pitching competitions of all these teams, and then the weekend series. It's going to be really hard to even put a pinpoint on who's going to win each weekend, because it seems like there will be a bunch of back and forth between I'll take this game, you take that game, and I mean we're going back and forth. But back to where we're at. Love what Oklahoma has. They're a top 10 team in the country right now, and they're just playing great ball. So I love what they have on their roster. And then we go to Florida and South Carolina. Florida swept 3-0. Florida starters, okay, we have Aiden King. I want to start with him. 0 ERA. He has not allowed an earned run yet this year. You have Liam Peterson, 2.84 ERA. He's been solid. You look at the rotation for this group, it's not bad. It's really not bad. Where's Florida struggled, though? They have struggled to put runs across the plate. And when they have done it, when we saw on the high point, the rotation behind them, or not the rotation, the bullpen back against pitching was not great. Like Florida right now, first off, I mean, they get a huge win. You're able to squeeze out 3 games and get 3-0 series win. That's huge. You need that. Again, as I've talked about with Florida, Tennessee, LSU, they've got to get runs across the plate. But I love what they have in the rotation. I love what they have building up in that locker room. And I love what they have on the mound. I just love what they have roster composition wise. And they're going to be a fun group to watch this year for sure. We got 3 more series to go to. We got Texas and Ole Miss. Ole Miss takes game one, and you begin to get the sense that that may not happen again with a lot of other teams. But, you know, they Ole Miss gets a big first game win, but then Texas takes over after that. Well, Texas rotation is absolutely solid with Dylan Valantis, Ruger Rojas, Luke Harrison. I mean, they're an elite group. You got Aiden Robbins, Anthony Pack, Casey Borba. I mean, this roster is so good. Along with this rotation, they're going to be a hard team to beat this year. I mean, right now, from what I've seen, they are my title contender. I would probably put them at two behind UCLA and then Georgia Tech right behind them. But I love this group. I love what they have. And I think it's very interesting to kind of peek this team and kind of see what they're going to be like going out this year. And it was very interesting to see how they would respond, especially after losing game one of the series. You kind of got the feeling that that wouldn't happen again, which, spoiler, it did happen this week against Auburn, but we'll get to that next week. But I do love this Texas group. I love what they bring to the table. I love the rotation with Volantis, Harrison, and Rojas. I love the bats with Robbins, Pack, Barba. I mean, they bring a lot to the table, and I love this Texas group. I love how they play ball. And then you have Auburn, Missouri. Auburn's went 3-0. And I'm going to say, I feel like I said a lot tonight, I love the rotation here. Jake Marciano, outstanding, 0.93 ERA. Then you have Jackson Sanders, Alec Pateri. I love this rotation they have. Love what they have on the mound. They've got guys that can hit. Auburn's going to be a great team in the SEC. You got Brandon McCrane, Carter Bristol, Chase Fredlick. I mean, there are guys on this roster hitting above 400. By the time of Brandon McCrane, Carter Bristol. And then you got the rotation that you have. Auburn is going to be an elite team. They are. They're going to be a top competitive team in the SEC. You could arguably put them in the top three, but there's so many good groups that you have to watch out for in the SEC that it's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans out and plays out as time goes on for this group. And then we're going to move to the final series, LSU Vanderbilt. Vandy wins this 2-1. You know, we go to LSU because they have been the talk to me of the year of just what is going on. You get the run production you want this weekend. It's looking great. Hopes are high and everything. But then your pitching staff lets you down. And that hurt LSU. Case and Evans has struggled this year to start. I love what Cooper Moore, William Schmidt have done on the Saturday and Sunday guys for LSU. I love what they bring, love what they've got. The positive for LSU, I guess we're looking for one, is that they kind of found a way to get the midweek done to start and settle down midweek. But the issue being, you're not winning SEC series right now. This group has struggled. You're not crossing the plate. You're relying heavily on a bullpen that has been great. And then this weekend, when your bats are hot, your bullpen didn't look good. It's just not a good look for the LSU squad, and it's very concerning. With that being said, about what they have, it's not a good place to be if you're an LSU fan. You're gonna have to lock in. You got Oklahoma this weekend. You need to focus in if you want to walk out of SEC play, winning record and being an Omaha team. But you look at the Vandy side of things. You know, you have Brody Johnstone, Braden Holcomb, guys who can hit well. They've got a solid group at the plate, but the big talk, you know, you look at LSU and the things going to remain the same. This group has got to get turned around. They do get the game three win, but even then, you look at came in after the starting group, the bullpen, it didn't look pretty from there either. I mean, there's a lot of concern for this team and that they're going to have to get this figured out if they want to be elite and be an Omaha team come May. Simple as that. All right. Now we're going to go to our stress meter. Jade presented me with a stress meter. We've got 4 teams to go over on this one. So let's go ahead and get started. UTSA is the first team on this stress meter. So UTSA, I'm going to put at a 3. I'm not really concerned about this team in the sense of I know they can produce runs. The concern remains the same where it was a while back when I talked about them. This bullpen is going to be very volatile. This rotation, volatile. It's going to be just like Louisville. They're going to have to get the bats rolling if they want to be an Omaha team and they want to compete come tournament time. So I'm going to stick it at 3 for UTSA. LSU, we're up to an 8. This panic, and we're getting ready to hit the panic. I'd love to see Case and Evans get back to the good stuff. I'd love to see the bats get rolling for LSU. I'd love to see a complete weekend series and get a win to kind of spark some light in the LSU fan base. Because, I mean, right now, there's no life. It's very dead. So LSU is going to need to bring some pop to the table if they want to be an Omaha team. Simple as that. Next, we're moving on to Tennessee. After the loss to Georgia, Tennessee. I'm going to say 5 in the middle. The same thing with LSU, just getting the runs across the plate. They haven't been able to do that. Again, you've got great starters with Coons and Blanco, and you've got the pitching staff to be a good team, but it's been kind of iffy getting runs across the plate, which I think it's harder to win. We're not able to do that than in UTSA's case, where you can win a lot of games scoring, at least 10 runs or having scored at least 10 runs with the offense they have. So I'm gonna say a 5 for Tennessee. And then we have TCU. So TCU's a tough one for me. To me, I look at TCU, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm gonna put it at a 5. Like, I don't know whether to be stressed or not because of the sole purpose of I don't know what a fully healthy TCU team looks like. We haven't seen it. I can't be stressed or unstressed because I just don't know. I'm gonna stick right in the middle because I don't know what TCU team we're gonna get or what a fully healthy TCU team looks like. So that's just something that you're gonna even pay attention to and let alone look out for going forward. All right. Now we're gonna move to our schedule. We'll start with our main slate. Georgia Tech Pitt, Cal and BC, Nebraska, Michigan, Clemson, Notre Dame, Wake Forest, Virginia, NC State, FSU, UCF, TCU, Utah, Cincinnati, Duke, Virginia Tech, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Auburn, Georgia, Texas A&M, Florida, Alabama, Arkansas State, or no, Arizona State, Kansas State, Oklahoma, LSU, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and then Louisville and North Carolina. Then for our mid-major schedule, you have UC Santa Barbara in Hawaii, Louisiana, Texas State, Arkansas State, Georgia State, Cal Poly, UC Davis, La Tech, New Mexico State, Jacksonville State, Western Kentucky, ECU UAB, Liberty, Kennesaw State, FGCU, North Florida, and then UC Irvine, Oregon State. So a great schedule there. Go watch those games this week. And if you're not able to, go watch the highlights. With that being said, that's going to wrap up today's show. Go follow us on our socials and stick with us for our next episodes. We should be getting back to the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule, Wednesday being golf, now that we're back in town. And hopefully we can kind of settle things out and get everything back to normal where they would be. So go follow us on our socials and stick with that. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next time on Across the Board.